Statue of Liberty. The giant statue, titled Liberty Enlightening the World, has become a symbol of the United States and of freedom to oppressed people everywhere. It stands on Liberty Island in New York Harbor. The statue was a gift from the people of France to the people of the United States, commemorating the alliance of the two nations during the American Revolution. The majestic sculpture in Upper New York Bay is one of the largest statues ever built and attracts about 2 million visitors each year. Edouard de La Bouillie, a French historian, proposed in 1865 that his country present a suitable memorial to the United States on the 100th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. The Franco-Prussian War intervened, but in 1874 an Alsatian sculptor, Frederick Auguste Bartholdi, went to New York City to confer with American officials. The Franco-American Union was formed to collect the funds. The total cost of about 1 million francs was contributed in France by popular subscription. Americans subscribed $250,000 for the pedestal. The statue was dedicated on October 28, 1886. In her uplifted right hand, Liberty holds a gilt torch illuminated by lights on the balcony. In her left hand is the tablet of law bearing in Roman numerals the date, July 4th, 1776. A broken shackle representing tyranny lies at her feet. The 7 spikes in her crown represent freedom's light shining on the 7 continents and the 7 seas. The star-shaped wall around the base of the statue is the wall of old Fort Wood, which was built on Bedloe's Island from 1808 to 1811. The statue was made a national monument in 1924 and is maintained by the National Park Service. In 1956, Bedloe's Island was renamed Liberty Island, and in 1965 nearby Ellis Island was added to the national monument. The American Museum of Immigration in the base of the statue was opened in 1972. On the pedestal appears a sonnet by Emma Lazarus entitled The New Colossus. The figure is composed of more than 300 copper sheets 2.4 millimeters thick and weighing a total of 91 tons. It is supported by an iron framework designed by Alexander Gustave Eiffel, builder of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Bartholdi first built a 3-meter model. This was enlarged to a figure 11 meters tall, which was divided into sections. Each section was further enlarged to full size, and the copper was hammered over patterns. In the assembled statue, each section of the shell was bolted to the central framework. Liberty's 46-meter pedestal was completed in 1886 and was for a time the largest single concrete structure in the world. The base contains stairways and a passenger elevator. The overall height of the structure, from the base of the foundation to the top of the torch, is 92.99 meters. Liberty herself is, from feet to torch, 46.05 meters and weighs a total of 204 tons. Two spiral stairways, one for upward traffic, the other for downward, extend inside the sculpture from its base to Liberty's crown, where there is an observation deck. Each stairway has 142 steps. Visitors are not permitted to ascend to the torch. A 4-day festival centering on July 4th, 1986, marked the 100th anniversary of the Statue of Liberty and the end of a 4-year repair and restoration program costing $66 million. Ellis Island. Island in New York served as entry port for 16 million immigrants to the U.S. from 1892 to 1954. Named for Samuel Ellis, who owned it in the 1770s, became part of the Statue of Liberty National Monument in 1965. The former Immigration Processing Center on it was dedicated as a museum September 9, 1990. And after an 8-year, $156 million renovation, museum contains documents and artifacts relating to 400 years of American immigration and attracts nearly 1 million visitors per year. It has been estimated that some 12 million immigrants passed through Ellis Island during its years of operation from 1898 to 1954, and that perhaps half of the United States population can be traced to these huddled masses that crowded through the island's cavernous registry hall. In 1976, Ellis Island was reopened to the public as part of the Statue of Liberty National Monument. New York Harbor was the scene of a spectacular celebration for the centennial of the Statue of Liberty in 1986. New York City hosted the bicentennial celebration of the inauguration of George Washington in 1989.
You never know how hard it was to leave her. But it was the hardest thing I ever had to do.
She said, if you leave, why, I don't ever want you to come back again.
Long, hard life. What?
Europe had always lost its children to America, and now there were new reasons to leave. Industrial change and political unrest had brought increased joblessness and poverty to Italy and Southern Europe. And reaching as far north as the industrial cities of Poland and Russia. In America, they were saying, there was a future, perhaps a fortune to be made. In the southern European ports of Naples, Piraeus, Trieste, and Constantinople, they gathered to board the ships to America. Some were birds of passage, leaving to seek work and return. Others with hopes to find at the end of the journey the good permanent life that awaited, they were told, 3,000 miles across the sea. In the rural areas of Eastern Europe, they had, in addition to poverty, other reasons to look to America. The government was taking young boys to the army. In a mother's lifetime, she might not see him again. And always there was the police, the historic persecutor of the Armenian, Slovak, and Jew.
I didn't know how to say goodbye.
Poland, Russia, Romania, and everybody just wanted to get out of there.
Making their way to the railheads, they sought passage to the sea. Some had money for the journey, and some did not. But turning back was seldom an alternative.
Trainen Teufellock. They cared us just like you would care load a bunch of pigs. You're gonna move a bunch of calves.
Those who saw America as a beacon of hope. It was a business of numbers, an operation designed to house, feed, and process 4,000 people at a time. To identify those whom American authorities might reject and return to Europe at steamship expense.
First thing they do with you is delouse you. Look, your hair all. Your hair, if there was a nit in your hair, you'd have to have shampoo.
Fearing epidemics, huge facilities were established to fumigate clothing, baggage, and people. Processed and ticketed, they waited for their ship. They boarded in many parts of Europe and in many kinds of vessels, most to New York and some to other ports. But they had one thing in common. They were traveling steerage, and the steamship companies understood the profit in numbers. They began a journey that could last from a week to a month. For some, it would be a voyage without incident. For others, the crossing would provide days for which they were ill prepared.
They gave us a tin plate with a fork and a spoon, a cup of soup, and that much bread, 15 days.
To escape the throbbing engines and the odor of spoiled food, those with blankets came on deck for air.
She was sick all the time. People didn't know where the toilets were, and so they used it. It was a terrible life.
I prayed one night that ship would go down. It was so horrible. It had to stop for a while, for some you know, the waves was washing. It's very sick. Ready to go down.
There's only one thing in my mind. I wanted to get out of there and to come to America.
Like in a fog, and everybody went over to the railing and just admiring.
The immigrant from steerage waited yet another boat ride. This one from the Hudson River Pier to an island in the Upper Bay. Crowded into barges and ferries, they approached the place that had become a legend in their mind.
I couldn't get my eyes on that. It's great. I was kind of glad to see Hollis Island as bad as it was. It was good to see any kind of land. It was.
According to the houses I left in my town, this was like a whole city that I almost felt smaller than I am.
But when I came to these doors, I saw all these people there. I figured, well, I guess I'll have to stay here for good probably, because all these people, what are they doing here? And nobody was happy. You don't know what's going to happen.
I had a coat and a dress and a pair of shoes. That's it.
One suitcase I had with me. And about $50, I guess.
My basket, my little basket, that's all I had with me.
Joseph, I says, where am I?
They would come right into the big hall, and there they were told to sit and stay there. And they didn't know where they were. It was a new land, but they hadn't been in land. It was just a big hall. And all you could get was tears and crying of the children.
For the vast majority, the process would last less than a day. But now they waited. Those from Europe and the Near East, with those who had arrived from the Caribbean. Those who were the first in their family to come to America, with those who would be met. Those who came to make money in return, with those who were determined never to return.
So they all had this fear.
But it was in the Great Hall where the vast majority faced their first and their last test. In his hand, the man at the registry desk held the ship's manifest. In his power, the right to interpret questions intended to identify those who should be let in or kept out.
They know a word of English.
I couldn't understand English, not one word.
First question, how much money have you got?
You had to have £5. My father, I remember, gave me that £5.
Do you know how long? It took a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, to get that $25.
It was still the strange names, the strange numbers, and the fear of losing one's money. There was the process of buying a ticket to places with unpronounceable names like Pittsburgh, Hamtramck, and Keokuk. But those were details. The island had passed them through. The door to America had opened.
It was as if God's great promise had been fulfilled.
I'm going into a free land. I don't think I ever can explain that feeling that I had that time. There isn't such a thing to be explained. It came out of my system. It's over.
It's not my native land, but it means more to me than my native land. It means more to me than my native land.
Any country on earth that you can give me this money and become a human being again. It's a miracle.
I'm glad I'm here. Couldn't be any better, could it?
And everybody had hopes. And one thing I was sure, and thousands like me, that the degradation, the abuse, and the privation that we had in Europe, we wouldn't have here.
Oh, God, yes. Hoping for centuries.